All right. So in this session, we are going to talk about the Pega out of the box approval configurations and approval types. Okay. So in Pega, basically, we have two level of approval. First is single level. Okay. What exactly single level mean? Single level means that you get only one approval. Okay. So you are sending, for example, we all are employees, and when we send our time sheet, only our manager approves. Just one approval is needed, not more than that, right? How do we derive and what are the logic and what are the configuration option available in the single level approval? That's something that we will learn in this session. After that, we have something called cascading approval, where you need more than one approval, but not different shape. You will not configure approval multiple times from the same approval shape. You will need more than one approval. Typical example would be that when we submit for a claim, usually organizations have policy like, okay, if the claim is less than 5,000, your manager's approval is enough. If the claim is more than 5,000 and less than 10,000, your manager approval and your manager's manager approval is needed. Two approvals. If the claim is more than 10,000, then probably your manager, your manager's manager, and your probably one more level, right? So three, four levels. So it's a cascading multi-level of approval that we need. Sometimes it is driven by the reporting hierarchy, sometimes it is driven by some other business rule. That's the another thing that we will cover as well. So we are going to cover one by one basically all of these approvals type, starting from the single level approval, which is quite straightforward. So let's have a look at the Pega case type that we have configured so far. So this is an approval shape out of the box, right? And this is where we decide approval flow type. Is it going to be single level or cascading? We're going to learn about the single level first. After the single level, you have three options. So in the single level, the first option is a specific user, where you will have to specify a user based on based sorry, one second, let it load. Based on either username, which is operator ID. We did that earlier. The other thing is user reference field, where you will take some defined some property basically. It is property reference. So here basically the property will hold the value operator ID, will hold the operator ID who we want to assign it to, and it is dynamic. Then the third one is reporting manager, right? A specific user, but reporting manager. It will be sent to the reporting manager of the submitter. Whoever is submitting the case, that person's reporting manager will be asked for the approval. Okay. So whoever completed the step before this, just before this step, whoever completed that step, that person's reporting manager will be um, basically asked to approve. Okay? And then the last one is participant. Participant is something we will learn about work party. This is a topic in our training as well. So this is based on the stakeholder. Some of we define certain stakeholder on the case like customer, like manager, approvers, government of. I mean, there are different type of basically stakeholder that we define. This is something we will cover later. Okay, at this point of time, we will not cover this, but rest three we will cover right away. The username one is very simple. We did it in the last exercise as well, but let me do that one more time. So I'm going to, for this case, basically, I'm going to assign the case to reviewer r2 at the rate b4.com. Single label is specific user. Okay. So the case will be routed to R2, yeah, for approval. Let's create a case and just check that out. Forget about the data. We don't have to worry about the data here. Just saying we are just checking basically the routing of the approval. So let's complete it, and it goes to reviewer 2. That's exactly what we configured. Reviewer 2 can log in, and that person will see its work list, that assignment. Okay. So see, there is the reviewer to C4001. That's exactly the case number, right? So it is assigned to this user for the approval. The user can log in and approve it. So that's the username. User reference field, let's try doing that. So you select one of the field available, and you will have to make sure. So either create operator, resolved by user, customer, create operator, employment create operator, whoever created this. So you need to define certain property in which you will hold. For example, if I say create operator, save it. So it will be assigned for the approval to the operator who created this case at the beginning. You can open this flow. You can see this is basically approval save sub process, and you can specify the property, right? A specific user property. But let's say that I want it to be dynamically driven based on certain condition. Let's say that when it is new customer, this condition driven, I'm going to assign it to other operator. When it is old customer, I'm going to assign approval, seek approval from another operator. So how do we do that? You need to create a property to hold the approver, right? So I'm going to create a property, in this case, reviewer, reviewer ID. Now this property will hold the value text, that is okay, of the reviewer. I will have to write the logic to determine the reviewer and store that in this procedure. At this moment, I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to initialize that. I'm going to initialize that through uh, set field default data transform, and I'm going to hard code R3 there. R3 is a user. I mean, we can write the logic based on certain other condition as well, but let's just, yeah, R3 is a user. I'm going to initialize that property. So during the case creation itself, this property will be initialized with this value. Why I'm not using the logic that if it is new or old? Because this data transform will run before the case creation. Before the case creation. So you will not know if it is a new customer or old. We need to do that if we want to cater that requirement to determine whether it is a new customer or old. Then we will have to call different data transform at a different place. I will teach you that as well. But first, let's try this one. So R3. And in the case, I'm going to put that property reviewer ID. Save it. R3 is what we have set. Let's create a case. If you refresh it here, it doesn't reflect here, but anyway, it is basically, let's see if it is still there. Yeah, reviewer ID is fine. Route to reviewer ID, that's okay. That's what we want to see. Let's create a case. Doesn't matter yes or no. It will be same because this is hard coded. See, it is assigned to reviewer 3. Now an interesting fact about this. See, you are making the decision new or old in this process. You can call the data transform in the flow action as well. So in this flow action, you have made the decision whether it is a new or old. So on the flow action, on the action tab, you get two category: pre-processing and post-processing. Pre-processing, whatever you configure here, data transform activity robotic, that runs before the form is loaded. And in the post processing, whatever you configure, that rule runs after the form is submitted. So when you are here, once you submit it, continue, basically you move away from this flow action, then post processing action will happen. But you would already know whether it's a new customer or old customer. So I can ideally create a data transform or call a data transform in the post processing to determine the reviewer. Okay? Let's open and create this data transform. At this point of time, I will know is it a new customer or old. So here in this data transform, I'm going to set when new cust. When new cust equals to yes, then set reviewer to um, reviewer to R3. This is our business logic. It can be complex business logic as well. I'm just giving you a glimpse. Otherwise, set reviewer ID to R2. If it is not new customer, then it will be R2. So this is business logic kind of thing. Oh, sorry. Otherwise, should have been parallel to one, not to two. Yeah, here. Otherwise, reviewer ID equal to R2. If it is new customer, then R3, otherwise R1. Let's test this out as well. Oh, I will need to save the flow action as well. So we have selected the data transform here in the post processing of the user type selection flow action. Let's save it. create. Remember, set field default is still going to set it 3 irrespective. Then later, this data transform will change it. I will show you. Let's create a case. So this is the case. The set field default data transform has already run, and that would have set the value of reviewer to R3. See, R3. Our logic says if yes, then it will be R3. If you say no, I mean, if it is not yes, then R2. I'm going to change it to no. It will not change anything until I continue. When I'm continuing, now the value of reviewer should be R2. See? And when you submit this case, R2 will be asked to review, reviewer 2. So that's how we dynamically, it can be any business, it can be very complex business logic as well that we can implement, not necessarily just the data transform. We have other rules as well to run business logic, but that's how dynamically based on the case content we determine who to assign the case, okay, for review or for any purpose for that matter. So this is basically your user reference field. Reporting manager. So remember, before this is the step submit application. So whoever is doing the submit application, that person's reviewing manager will be asked to approve. So let me change it to reviewing manager, reporting manager, sorry. Now I'm going to create the case, I'm going to submit it. So I need to make sure that my reporting manager is set. So I will open my operator ID, and on the work tab, there is a field called reports to. I'm going to select R1. Let's say that I'm reporting to R1. So when I create a case, doesn't matter now, this is not we are using. So it will be assigned to R1 user. See, R1, because that's who my reporting manager is. If R1 user submits, let's say, okay, who else we have logged in with? This is R2. Let me open R2 user and set reporting manager for R2 user to myself, right? Myself. Now, if I create a case using the login of R2 user, let me create a case. Sorry, I'll have to log off and log in because I changed that. Right. Let me create a case. It goes to Mahesh because Mahesh is the reporting manager of this R2 user. Okay, so that's how the reporting manager works. So this is about the specific user category in the single level. Talk about the other stuff. I'm gonna close a few things here. This type. So that's single level specific user. Work queue. Work queue is the work basket thing. We already did it in the last assignment, but I'm just going to show you guys one more time. It will be assigned to a team. Single level can also be a team as well, right? So when you create a case, it will be assigned to reviewer work basket. See, it got assigned to reviewer work basket. So that is basically work queue. And then we have business logic. In the business logic, we configure. Sorry, here is the gear. I cannot configure view. I clicked wrong. Let it load. So it's the conditional again. So we say that route to operator this any operator, let's say R1, right? Add condition. So condition would be that when annual salary is greater than 5,000, then assigned to this one. Otherwise, assigned to work basket without any condition. Okay, so you can have sorry, otherwise is this one. R2 is this when the employment company is equal to, let's say, Pega or DXC. When it is DXC, then reviewer. Otherwise, it will be assigned to R2. So this is the condition. If salary is greater than 5,000, then R1. If company is DXC, then reviewer work basket. Remember, it will evaluate one by one. Whatever comes true first, it will stop there. Okay. So if you have both condition true, first one will be executed. If none of these are true, then it will go to R2. Let's test this. Save it. So I'm creating the first case with salary. Where is that? Salary 10,000, 20,000. Ideally, who should it be assigned to? R1. I'm putting company name DXC as well. Both are true. Let's see. It got assigned to R1 because first one got true. That's why. Let me create another case, and this time I'll keep salary less so that that is not true. Let's say this much. And the company is still going to be DXC. Assigned to reviewer work basket. Now I'm going to create another case which will not meet any of those. So company is, let's say, Pega, and salary I will leave blank. Both are true, not true. Then it will go to reviewer 2. So that's how single label configuration with different options work. So in this session we will keep it short for the single label only because cascading is going to have another set of challenges. So here in the single label, we explained when a single label situation or approval situation might come. We talked about the different options. We talked about the specific user situation. There are 4 options. We discussed the 3. We implemented the 3 in detail. This is something we will learn only after we have learned about the work party. Work queue, we discussed that, and then we learn a business logic with conditional assignment. Basically, based on certain condition, we were choosing who to go for approval. And in the next session, we are going to talk about the cascading approval. And that's where this session concludes.